Welcome to KO Stories, where I tell stories of the mysterious, twisted, and paranormal. And today is no different. I got a really good story for you guys. So, without any further ado, it's time to slip into a mind that's not our own. On January 15th, 1947, the remains of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, also known as the Black Dahlia, were found on the block of 3800 South Norton Avenue in Los Angeles, California. Now, the body was cut in half and so pale and drained of blood that the woman who found the body mistook it for a mannequin at first. Now, this body was cut with surgical precision, leaving no trauma to any internal organs or bones. Now, her face was also cut from her mouth to her ears, leaving an eerie, permanent smile, kind of like what the Joker does. Now, there was no blood on the ground, making it believed that the body was moved there after she had already been murdered somewhere else. Now, 9 days after she was discovered, an envelope was sent to the Examiner addressed by using individual cut and pasted letters from magazines and newspapers, and it read, "The Los Angeles Examiner and other Los Angeles papers, here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow." And as promised, the envelope contained Short's social security card, birth certificate, photographs, names written on pieces of paper, and an address book with pages missing and the name Mark Hansen embossed on the cover. Now, gasoline was used to clean the objects, removing the fingerprints so none were found. And on March 14th, a suicide note scrawled in pencil on a bit of paper was found tucked in a shoe in a pile of men's clothing by the ocean's edge at the foot of Breeze Avenue in Venice. And the note read, "To whom it may concern, I have waited for the police to capture me for the Black Dahlia killing, but they have not. I am too much of a coward to turn myself in, so this is the best way out for me. I couldn't help myself for that or this. Sorry, Mary." That was it. And then the pile of clothing was first seen by the beach caretaker, who reported the discovery to the lifeguard captain, John Dillon. And then Dillon immediately notified West Los Angeles Police Station. Now, these clothes included a coat and pants of blue herringbone tweed, a brown and white shirt, a white jockey shorts, tan socks, and tan moccasin shoes, about size 8. However, the clothes gave no clue about the identity of the owner. Although many suspects were named, no authorities were able to identify the Black Dahlia's killer, and the mystery has gone unsolved for 70 years. So my questions are, did that person who wrote the note really kill themselves? It sounds like they probably did. And if so, who's Mary? That's the lead I would start with. Now, just to let you know, at the beginning of this, there's a bunch of names. I am completely sorry if I butcher any of them, okay? Now, on September 29th, 1982, 7 people in the Chicago area ingested poison Tylenol pills, which made them collapse and die shortly after. Now, the 7 victims included 12-year-old Mary Kellerman, 27-year-old Mary Reiner, 31-year-old Mary McFarland, 35-year-old Paula Prince, 27-year-old Adam Janis, 25-year-old Stanley Janis, and 19-year-old Teresa Janis. Now, Adam Janis ingested a Tylenol and died at the hospital. Now, when the family came back to mourn, Stanley Janis and his wife Teresa took a Tylenol and also died, making it 3 deaths in the same family on the same day. However, this intense tragedy is what led investigators to actually connect the dots on what happened. Now, Cook County investigator Nick Peisos compared the Janice's Tylenol bottle to Mary Kellerman's and noticed they had one similarity, and it was a control number, MC2880. And Deputy Medical Examiner Edmund Donahue asked Peisos to smell the bottles, and Peisos replied that they both smelled like almonds. Does anybody here know what poison smells like almonds? Well, the poison cyanide is known to smell like bitter almonds, which in large amounts can cause seizures, cardiac arrest, and respiratory failure. Now, the blood tests on all of the victims showed that they had taken a dose of 100 to 1,000 times the lethal amount of cyanide. Now, Donahue spoke to an attorney from Johnson & Johnson. Now, that was Tylenol's parent company. And after all the victims were buried on October 1st, 1982, he said that the Tylenol bottles were intentionally poisoned with potassium cyanide. And immediately, over 31 million bottles of Tylenol were recalled by the manufacturer and were issued warnings immediately. They also offered to replace recalled bottles with new bottles and offered a $100,000 reward to anyone who may have any information on the perpetrator. And these precautions cost the company over $100 million. Now, not to mention that there were several more copycat deaths across the United States after the initial incident had occurred. Now, this led to the invention of safety seals that you now see on medicine bottles today. And to this day, no suspect has ever been charged or convicted of the poisonings. Now, I get some companies make mistakes, but this was 7 deaths that were just tragically wrong and did not need to happen. And I get that they paid the amount of money that they needed to pay to fix the situation, but to just have no culprit in this, to have it still a cold case, not right. Not right at all. I don't know about you, but I want some answers. Now, this one, everybody has probably heard the name, but a lot of people have mixed theories. Let's get into that. On September 7th, 1996, at the MGM Grand Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, well-known rapper Tupac Shakur was seen attending a Mike Tyson boxing match. And after the match, Tupac left with the CEO of Death Row Records, Suge Knight. Now, once they departed from the boxing match, Tupac and his bodyguards got into a fight with Compton-based Southside Crips gang members Orlando Anderson in the lobby of the MGM. And after the fight was broken up, Tupac and Suge Knight left in Knight's car with Tupac's entourage following in the cars behind. Now, they were stopped at the intersection of Flamingo and Koval, and then a white Cadillac pulled up to the passenger side of Knight's car and shot out the window, hitting Tupac 4 times and grazing Knight in the head with a bullet fragment. Then, in 2014, retired LVPD Sergeant Chris Carroll revealed that he was the first police officer on scene that day. And according to Carroll, when he opened the car door, Tupac fell out of the car covered in blood, and Carroll asked, "Who shot you?" Tupac took a deep breath and only proclaimed expletive words at the police officer before slipping into unconsciousness. Tupac was then taken to UMC and placed on life support, and he was put into an induced coma. Now, on September 13th, 1996, this is 6 days after the shooting, Tupac sadly died as a result of his injuries at the age of 25. Now, Las Vegas police never arrested anyone in connection with the murder. They also failed to follow up with Yaki Gaddafi, a member of Tupac's entourage who claimed he could identify the assailant. Unfortunately, Gaddafi was murdered only 2 months after the infamous shooting before he could be interviewed. Now, to this day, no one has been claimed a suspect and no arrests have been made. Now, there are a lot of theories, and a lot of people think the CIA, FBI, and local police were involved in the death of Tupac. And there are a bunch of other conspiracies, and I don't want to bore you too much because there's a lot of them. Maybe one of the biggest ones is that Tupac is still alive and is currently living in Cuba. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember reading one time that the day after Tupac died, there were over 1,000 sightings of Tupac in Cuba the next day. But that could be purely a theory, a joke, a scam, who knows? You do your own research and make up your own mind. Now, it is said that Suge Knight knows exactly who killed Tupac, and that the same people who did it are in the same circles as the people who also killed Biggie. But that is a story we will get into on a different day. So with the theory of the police being involved and how they never caught the killer, do you think when the police officer asked Tupac who shot you, Tupac said, F off, like he ain't no snitch, or F off as you know it was you? And I won't leave you hanging. Everybody knew who listened to Tupac that he wasn't no snitch. Period. And I would like to tell the story of Biggie too, but I might not have to, because after the documentary Tupac Assassination Battle for Compton came out, Suge Knight was so impressed with the filmmakers that he needed to know how these people knew what they did for the story. And are you ready? Because this might be something you have been wondering for a while. Now, there also was a lot of speculation that Tupac was not the target. It was actually Suge Knight. Now, he was known as a gangster and a very ferocious one at that. So it's not unreasonable to assume he had many enemies, because he did. So Suge Knight claims that his ex-wife Sharitha and former Death Row Records security chief Reggie White Jr. killed Tupac in an attempt to try to end his life. Now, Knight's attorney Thaddeus Culpepper wrote in a signed affidavit that Knight has known for many years that Reggie White Jr. and his ex-wife Sharitha Knight were behind the murder of Tupac and attempted murder of Suge Knight. He added that Knight also had alleged details of Wright's involvement in the Biggie Smalls murder case as well. Now, Knight's attorney, whose name was Thaddeus Culpepper, wrote in a signed affidavit that Knight has known for many years that Reggie White Jr. and his ex-wife Sharitha Knight were behind the murder of Tupac and attempted murder of Suge Knight. He added that Knight also alleged details of Wright's involvement in the Biggie Smalls murder case. Now, if you enjoyed these 3 stories and want more, be sure to let me know by leaving a like and a comment, and make sure you subscribe. Also, hit one of these stories right here if you want to continue slipping to the mind of someone else. Now, it's time for me to go, but I'll see you later. And
welcome to KO Stories, where I tell stories about true crime, missing people, and the paranormal. As of now, it's time to slip into a mind that's not our own.